goes through it. And the reason I lay this all in here is because I want to be able to do a sanity check. I literally go and do this, and then I stand up in front of a big screen in our office, and I click through the thing and try to give the conversation, have the presentation. And there are some subtle differences between what was up there and what you're seeing today, because I figured out, oh, you know what, this part of the story doesn't work, or if I bring this whole concept into it, we're here for an hour and a half, and nobody wants that. So that's really the idea. You want to do it at this point when you haven't invested any time and effort, and possibly money, in finding images and trying to find images that work together, and then you want to throw, if you end up throwing it out, then you're already kind of invested in it. So figure out what you want when you're just dealing with text. Then you can worry on actually doing the slide design part of this. So the first thing, which you may have gathered from this, and if you've seen us speak in the past, is that you don't use templates at all. This can be a little bit of a challenge, right? If you're in an organization and you've got, the marketing, PowerPoint police, who are like more concerned that you don't have the logo in the bottom than the fact you've actually communicated effectively to an audience. I've been in that organization, and what do we call it? We got out of there. Is basically what we did. Like, that's not a good sign of a healthy organization. One of the other things is to, of course, use minimal text. Everybody's seeing those PowerPoints that just go on. And the simple reason for that is kind of what I'm going to demonstrate right here. Because all of you are reading the text on the slide, which is completely unrelated to what I'm actually talking about. So we have this disconnect, right? Because everybody's going to read this, and you can read that a lot faster than I can read it. And how many times have you been in a presentation with the person going, "This is the best hope of defeating the shadow once and for all," right? You've already read it, and by that point, your iPhone's out, and you're like, "Damn, I'm trapped in another presentation." So the way we try and avoid all that is by using images. So, right, we want to try and have this be a visual story. We'll get into how we handle all that, but that's really kind of the transitional point. That was nice slides with nice images, but you still have the wall of text, so you definitely solve the problem here. So, where do we get images from? Well, the main place we go at this point is Flickr. So you go there, you do a search. The important things, zoom in, is make sure you're doing the Creative Commons license search, otherwise you're kind of using images that you're not allowed to. And you have these three different things according to the sort here. The interesting is really what you want. And I don't know how interesting gets rated inside the bowels of Flickr, but it ends up coming up with much more interesting photos. Like this one. Right? How awesome is that? That's just so sweet. Oh, the little dart. How beautiful. But then if you use these things, they're Creative Commons, you have to make sure you're giving some attribution down there. So, we have our little URL thing, and basically what we do for Flickr is, you can see there's the two little Flickr logo, the user ID / the photo ID. And that kind of covers you on the Creative Commons side. So, what if you're doing a presentation to a board of directors of some giant corporation and you don't want to have little Flickr stuff in the bottom because you think it doesn't look professional? Well, of course, you can always go to a place like iStockPhoto and start spending some money. We have an entire archive, not of Darth Vader pictures, oddly enough, of stock photography that we've purchased in the past, and we reuse it heavily. And you get some vaguely conceptual stuff. Maybe we have 200 or 300 images, but we share them across the entire company, and we get the reuse out of them. But that's only part of it. Once you've actually located the image you want, now you need to put it on a slide. This is where things, when we see people first trying this kind of more visual style out, things go a little awry. Because you end up with this, right? It's a great photo, it's probably in context, but you have this edge. Well, that's actually pretty easy to solve, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do it. All you gotta do is scale it so the edge matches the edge. If you don't have that visual jarring thing there, it's a lot better. The other thing you're gonna see on here is that we have these two little subtle gray areas. Now this gets a little nitpicky because we're really picky about how things look visually, but it's very, very simple to fix this, and your audience, because everybody's visual, is going to notice that and pick it up really quickly and be more concentrated on the silly edge than on the fact that we have another picture